Hello world, my name's Nick360, and welcome to Prison Architect. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a feature that many new players miss, but can be very important. To unlock this feature, we are going to go to Bureaucracy. In Bureaucracy, we are going to do Prison Policy. Now, what is Prison Policy? Well, if we look at the toolbar here, unlocking the prison policy allows us to increase and decrease the punishments for all types of misconduct, as well as automatically triggering searches of misbehaving prisoners and their cells. Also allows you to control the nutritional policy, changing the quantity and variety of food served to prisoners. Alright, prison policy is about to be done, and it's done now. There we go. Now let's look at these tools in more detail. We go to Reports and Policy. You can see that this tab is opened up, giving us a lot of choices. Let's start at the top. On the top bar we have Incident, Him, Cell, and Punishment. So what this means is, this is the incident that's going to occur, and we're going to either search either the person or their cell, if they have a cell. Right now, none of these X's are filled in. But let's say we want to go hard on a particular element of a prison. Suppose you have fights occurring too frequently than you desire in your prison, and you want to reduce the number of fights that go on. You can change the consequence for a fight. We can go and increase the time of the punishment. We can also change what kind of punishment will be delivered. So, let's go through these really quickly. Destruction is when they destroy the property of the prison. So if they try and break down a door and attempt to escape, or they get mad and they try and trash different parts of your prison, that's destruction. Escape attempt is pretty self-explanatory, but when they try and run away from your prison. Attacked prisoner means one prisoner attacked another prisoner. Attacked staff means a prisoner attacked a staff member. Serious injury is an additional punishment after attacking someone in which you hurt the person. Intoxication is where the person gets drunk or high on drugs. Found weapons means that they were found with weapons. Found tools means they're found with tools. Drugs, luxuries, luxuries. So right now, there's different types of punishment. So destruction right now by default is a lockdown. And a lockdown means they stay in their cell. Versus attacking a staff or causing serious injury to someone will result in solitary. Most prisons have their solitary cells really small and uncomfortable. This means solitary is worse than a lockdown. A cell has to have a bed and a toilet in it, which makes it by default better than most solitary cells. Many of my cells are also bigger and have windows on them. So let's say your prison has a lot of serious injuries, and you want to stop that from happening. You can up the number of hours they have to commit in solitary. They have to sit in that room and just kind of rot with no interaction with people and no luxuries at all. And just as an extra kick in the shins, you can also search his cell. So he hurt someone, we're not only going to put you in solitary, but we're going to search your cell and see if you have any other things you're not supposed to have. And we can do that for all of these. Prisoners don't like when they're searched unjustifiably. So I can go up to any prisoner, click on the prisoner, and I can say, hey, search this prisoner. However, if I don't have a reason to search this prisoner, the prisoner isn't going to like it very much. And that's actually going to show up in our thermometer up here. So it's not a good idea to, in policy, have all these X's filled in. However, having no X's means contraband will survive in your prison. Any contraband that comes in your prison was going to be harder to find. So you have to find a balance between looking at everything and looking at nothing. And one example is intoxication is probably something you're going to see the person have, but they're likely to hoard alcohol. So you can go and search their cell. Now, if they injure someone, that means they might have a weapon. So we're going to want to search the prisoner and say, hey, did you have a knife or a club or something that you're not supposed to have? Likewise, we can do that for the attacking someone else. And again, we can change the punishment. Now, the longer the punishment, the more suppressed they are. Now, remember how in our programs, we create programs to train our prisoners to learn skills for our jobs. Well, punishing them will suppress them. It means they won't be as eager to learn. This is obvious if you've gone to a school and you're hungry and you're tired and the teacher's just annoying and you can't focus. When you're not in the mood to learn, when you're suppressed, learning just becomes impossible. And that's basically true in Prison Architect as well. When a prisoner is suppressed, their ability to learn goes to almost nothing. And so their ability to pass classes like this workshop safety and their kitchen safety greatly reduces if you suppress prisoners. So it's not a good idea to suppress all of your prisoners. So that is the punishment portion of policy. Next, let's look at the nutritional portion of policy. So you can see we have two options, one for meal quality and one for meal variety. We can have no meal variety and offer very low quantity of food. And as you can see, the cost for each prisoner is $1 per day. That's really low. Now, the opposite of that would be having a lot of variety and offering a lot of food. So that's $30 per day. That's 30 times more expensive. I personally like to have the quantity high and the variety low because this is still really cheap. In my personal experience, the meal variety doesn't matter too much, but the quantity has a big impact. So for not much more in the price, having a larger quantity means your prison will run a lot better because your prisoners will be a lot happier. And finally, the last element of policy is parole cutoff. Now, parole is what happens when the prisoner is halfway or 3/4 through their sentence. So let's say they commit a crime and they're in jail. They've been sentenced to a year in jail. Well, at 6 months in jail, they'll have an opportunity for parole, which means they can get out early. So let's look at a prisoner and see what affects their parole chance. If we right-click a prisoner and we go to grading, we can see the effect of the prison on this prisoner. Now, there's 4 different categories. All of these factors will change the reoffending chance. Now, the reoffending chance is when they get released from jail, when their sentence is done, what is the chance that they're going to use their time out of jail to commit a crime that would get them back into jail? So as a result, we want this number as low as possible. And we can do that by increasing punishments, increasing reform, increasing security, and increasing health. Now, right now, the health is really low for this prisoner, but the punishment is really high. Reform isn't great, but security is also really high. But because health is so low and reform isn't very good either, the reoffending chance is still higher than 50%. So this is a question you have to ask yourself. Would you feel comfortable letting this prisoner out early if they had more than a 50% chance of committing a crime that would cause them to go back to jail? Most people would not feel comfortable with this choice. So that's what parole policy means. Parole policy looks at what are your percentage of reoffending by committing another crime once you're free to go. And depending on that chance, you get to be let out early or you have to stay for the entire duration of your sentence. If you let off the prisoner early and they don't commit a crime, you get a large sum of money. I believe it's $3,000. However, if you let them out early and they do commit a crime, you have to pay a little bit of money, about $1,000. Parole can be an important part of your prison because it can allow you to make money simply by letting prisoners go. So offering parole will allow you to take in new prisoners because you have more room for the prisoners, which will allow you to make money. And it will also allow you to make money from having those prisoners who got paroled not commit a crime, and then you get a small bonus for that. So being able to reduce your reoffending chance is actually a really cost-effective way to make money in your prison. We can change this parole cutoff so that everyone gets parole. If we have the cutoff be 100%, that means no matter who they are, what their chances of committing a crime in the future are, they are going to be let off halfway through their sentence. Now this means a lot of people are going to be coming in and out of your prison because their sentence is going to be half of what it normally is, assuming that parole wasn't being offered before. But the problem is, for each person that does commit a crime, you get a small fine. So if your prison isn't very reformatory and the reoffending chance of your prisoners is very high, then you're going to receive a lot of fines. So in order to avoid these fines, you might want to say, oh no, I'm going to have the parole cutoff 0%. I'm not going to parole any prisoners. All of my prisoners are staying the entire time. Well, this means that you get less prisoners coming in and out of your prison, which means you make less money. But it also means that when a prisoner is denied parole, they get very upset. And depending on the aggression level of the prisoners, this can result in the prisoner attacking the people around him, which are often lawyers or sometimes even the warden. So it's tricky, but you have to find a balance. The balance I feel comfortable with is around 20%. However, depending on your prisoners and your prison, this value may change. Now, I already built this room, but in order to have any prisoners being paroled in the first place, we need a parole room. The parole room has to be a certain size and has to have a visitor's table inside. Once you have a parole room built, you can go to Reports, and then you can go to Programs. Now, we use programs to train people in jobs, but there are programs for parole hearing. Now, each parole session allows one prisoner who's available to be paroled to go in and sit down, talk with their lawyer, and talk with the people in the prison, sometimes the warden, but probably not. And they go and they talk about, and this is evaluation of their reoffending chance. And so they talk about the prisoner and their life in there. And so if this was Morgan Freeman, he'd be like, "Oh, I don't give a shit." And then they let him go because apparently that's the response they're looking for. But that's what the parole is, and they let him out early. And so we're going to start one of these, and each parole session costs a little bit of money, and it takes up 4 hours. So this takes a long time, and only one prisoner at a time is allowed in. And I believe this is the prisoner that we're looking at. So offering parole is a great way to make money, but there are costs and benefits. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to get notified for future videos, please subscribe. I will be uploading a prison architect video every Friday, so make sure to come next week and check me out. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!